This is going to end up being a level of chaos that I have not had in a while. Refreshing to say the least. No one asked you. I literally say that and my phone vibrates in the middle of me trying to finish my sentence. Again, this is only going to be chaos. For those who don't know me, hi, I go by the specific name Toki or local internet friend, and seeing as though we're having to deal with like 6 different uh, planetary retrogrades, along with like a super blue moon coming up in a few days, I'm mentally, emotionally, and physically exhausted. For me, what this ends up meaning is there's a lot of things that specifically come up in my head, and I have to go ahead and like either write it down or speak it out or type it out somehow. And like having to go through the having to go through emotionally processing all of that can also be emotionally and physically exhausting for me. To top it all off, today is a rather gloomy day, and I think it is raining. It is only a Monday, everyone. Okay, anyway, one, that is probably the reason as to why this is going to be a very chaotic video outside of the fact that I am naturally chaotic. But two, it is also the reason as to why I'm doing a rather chaotic video. Think of this as an update slash brain dump slash... There's a lot of things that I had to go ahead and process through and I want to talk about, but it's not enough for me that I feel comfortable in just doing a complete video on. Plus just some random information that just stays in my head constantly, and I'm gonna consistently get annoyed at my phone throughout this entire process. I know I've spoken about this, like one of the problems of trying to like live your life, but as a fan of like, as an official fangirl of things, and it's just like, ugh. Never do you actually end up getting a break, because even if you're getting a break, you don't recognize that you're getting a break. So you can't take advantage of the break, right? Even if I end up flipping my phone over to like make it so that I don't see the screen, I end up hearing the freaking vibrates. I hear my phone vibrating because I keep it on vibrate. So here are just some of the things that I specifically written down or will just randomly pull out of my head because it's information that I ended up writing down a long time ago, but I do not remember where I put. I made a list of like random things. I found the list. We can move on. Lemons specifically are like sweeter than strawberry. Well, lemons don't taste sweeter than strawberries, but it has a higher amount of sugar in them. However, they also have the higher amount of citric acid in them, which is the only reason why they taste more sour than strawberries do. As much as generalized advice can help a lot of people, we as humans often forget that we have to critically think about things, and we just go on autopilot because it's way easier to do so. Like, it takes a lot less energy. And even I often forget that. As much as tomatoes are botanically fruits, they're legally treated like vegetables in the US. Which is probably the other reason as to why we don't actually eat tomatoes in fruit salads. Instead, we eat them in regular salads. Okay, 1, frisson is a thing. If you don't know what frisson is, it's basically the goosebumps or like the chills that you end up getting when you're listening to a song that you really think is good. And 1, not only is it weird for me to try to explain because not everyone goes through it. Specifically, the way that I understand it, it's kind of like your ears are... the neurons in your brain that specifically connect with your ears and how you perceive, essentially how you perceive sound, might also be like heavily connected or like strongly connected to how you feel sensations in your body, which could also be another reason as to why people tend to be sensitive to sounds and just absolutely hate certain ASMR sounds. The official sweetest apple is actually the Fuji apple, which is apparently sweeter than Honeycrisp and what was it? Sweet bee? Is sugar bee apples. And the only reason why I ended up looking this up is because I got an ad while I was watching a video trying to chill out. I got an ad that was talking about how much sugar is in apples specifically, but apples that have names that are synonymous to sweetness. And they were trying to say how if you want the if you want the if you want the most nutrition out of an apple, to go for the crab apples, because as much as they do not taste good, they are healthier for you. And I'm just sitting here like, can you just allow people to like enjoy fruits as they are? It's already bad enough that capitalism is getting in the way. Inner teen healing is a thing. It's basically figuring out whether you were able to be the rebellious teenager when you were in rebellious teenager age. But it's also figuring out exactly what you believe in, your likes and dislikes, and you as an entire person. For me, apparently, it is having to go ahead and deal with the critical part of my mind that's also pessimistic. And depending on whether you were in a space that was safe enough for you to go through your rebellious teenager phase will determine as to whether you have to actually do that type of inner work. One of the best things to do if you're ever trying to go ahead and like be a better person is to write out your priorities. Try to be as specific as possible when it comes to it. Given that everything itself can be like covered in layers of nuance, there are times when more information is not a good thing. And most of the time, it is when you're dealing with a paranoid pessimist. Hi, I am a paranoid pessimist. Giving me more information and more things that specifically state that things are going to go in more in the bad, more down the bad or worst case scenario route, and then trying to tell me to go ahead and like think positive. You give me the information that takes me down one route and you're telling me to go down another route. My brain is not going to comprehend any of that. When it comes to the videos I make about doing inner work to being a better person, I talk mainly about things that you specifically can do yourself and not adding in other people. And that's not to say that you don't need other people in order to quote unquote heal, because to some extent pushing people away could also be a trauma response. So it's not me saying that you don't need other people to heal. You will always need other people to like completely handle all of your mess. But like there's a lot of stuff that you can do on your own. You can't do everything on your own is what I'm saying. And the reason why I specifically say this is that the way that I look at romantic relationships specifically is that they should always start with honesty and a sense of one's whole self. That's relationships in general, the way that I look at it, because I can't separate the difference between a romantic and a platonic relationship. They both feel and look the same to me is what I'm saying. And that might just be because my brain is wired differently and it doesn't look at the nuances between the two. And at the same time, I'm well aware of that. One thing that people tend to forget is that it takes a lot of time and work. Well, it takes mainly a lot of work, and it all depends on the environment as to how long it takes or how much time it would take To not allow your past or your current environment to determine your future. As much as they say that you don't have to allow your past to determine your future, they also do not explain the amount of work that it may or may not cost you and the amount of time that it may or may not cost you, depending on several different factors. And adding on to that, it is not enough to not be like the person that specifically either did you wrong or assisted in traumatizing you. It's also not enough to just not be like the person that could have assisted you while you were going through trauma but didn't for other reasons. You do have to dig deeper to find out what it is that you wanted out of the situation that was missing and what you specifically can do to rectify how that situation affected you and how it could affect everything else that you go and deal with in the future. You'd be more surprised about the fact that people don't understand that tea still has caffeine. However, I think it's mainly because not everyone has to deal with being very sensitive to caffeine. So you have to check to see what you're drinking or about to eat has caffeine or not, and determining on how much of it has, what you're having to deal with later. Like if I drink a cup of coffee, I am not allowed to drink a caffeinated beverage or another caffeinated beverage. That means no black, green, oolong, or white tea. Well, okay, oolong and white tea might be okay depending, because those are more on the low end of the amount of caffeine that the tea has. It's still questionable at best is what I'm saying. And as much as it says decaffeinated, that does not mean that it is caffeine free. It only means that when they checked it with whatever machine that they use to check the amount of caffeine that a thing has, it did not register, or it was less than 0.1%. And lastly, something that I think we all need to be reminded of, especially if you're trying to do the inner work to being a better person. But a work in progress, or as some people might end up saying, a success in progress, still deserves love and respect. You don't have to be perfect, is what I'm saying. You do have to be accountable of your own actions and how they can affect a number of things. And I'm not going to go off of I'm not going to list it. My brain hurts already. And there, a full video of me basically brain dumping what I've learned with also just random bits of information that I've gathered that has nothing to do with like the process of trying to be a better person. Anyway, I should be done with this video now. Hopefully I will be able to actually have a more organized video next time I upload. But we will be far away from the supermoon, the Venus in retrograde, the Mercury in retrograde, and I will hopefully be less tired and irritated. So with that being said, I'm not even doing the stereotypical YouTuber outro. My brain already hurts. Like, share, comment. This is me at like low energy level. Anyway, at the end, this is actually now just a reminder to go ahead and take care of yourself. Self-care is always important, and apparently my self-care is not forcing myself to like be as energetic as I usually would be in my videos. I forgot what I was saying. Bye.